Hey everyone, I'm Eric Franklin with your Garrison Public Affairs. I'm here at Fire Station 1 with...
My name is Kyle Hudson. I'm a fire inspector out here at FortCavazos.
And we're here to talk all about winter safety and what you can do to better prepare yourself and your family this winter season. All that and more on this week's Great Big Podcast. Hey, we're back. Now, tell us a little bit about fire safety here in the kitchen.
Sure. So we know that cooking is one of the leading causes of fires in homes today. And so what you really have to realize is during the holidays is that you're going to be doing a lot of cooking, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that if you're cooking, you want to make sure that you don't leave it unattended. That there's always somebody watching what's on the stove.
Yeah.
And you actually have a fire extinguisher present with you, when you're actually cooking in the kitchen. And so one thing that we do here at the firehouse, we always have a fire extinguisher that's present. And but you also have to know how to use that fire extinguisher, right? And so certain things that we like to impress or pass on is how to use it. And the way that we use it is we use the pass method, which is, pull the pin, aim it at the base of the fire, squeeze, and sweep.
Okay.
And that's for a fire that can easily be a combustible fire. But for a fire that is on top of a stove like this one right here, say if we're cooking with oil,
okay,
the way that you want to do it is, so fire is made up of three things. It's made up of heat, fuel, and oxygen.
Yeah.
And so the thing is if you think about a fire, it's a triangle. So we want to remove one of the sides of the triangle.
Yeah.
And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll turn off the burner. If we have an oil fire, we'll cover it up so no more oxygen gets to the fire. And we'll remove it off the burner.
Okay.
Another thing to keep in mind too is around the holidays, when the temperatures are getting a lot colder, is we have a lot of gas leaks on the installation. All right. So if you're in the house, it's a good rule of thumb to have a carbon monoxide detector.
Okay.
And a smoke detector. Sometimes they make the ones that are a combination smoke detector, carbon monoxide detectors. And that way, so if you have a gas leak in your house, it will communicate to you that something's wrong. And so it's always good for you to know what to do when you have your carbon monoxide detector going off.
Okay. You said earlier that you've been doing this for almost 20 years now. You've been a firefighter in the fire services. So yes, for you, what is the biggest takeaway for the holiday seasons when it comes to fire safety?
I think one of the biggest things is don't be complacent. Always have a plan. I like to remember acronyms. One of the best acronyms is having a PACE plan. Have a primary plan, an alternate plan, a contingency, and an emergency plan.
So outside of fire safety here on the stove, what other safety issues do you recommend we be aware of at the house?
So one thing that you want to keep in mind is winterize your house. All right. So with the colder temperatures here in Texas, we've been having a lot more freezing temperatures that will freeze up pipes.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that all your pipes are winterized. So make sure and put some type of foam or insulation around your pipes. Leave your faucet dripping at nighttime because you can not only have a fire emergency in your kitchen, but you can also have broken pipes that will cause a lot of water damage.
Just real quick, one more time as a kid, when I was growing up, my grandmother, she used to leave the stove open. Yeah. I inherently knew that it was dangerous. When people think that that's keeping them warm, yes, it may keep them warm, but tell us a little bit about the risk in leaving your stove open and using that to heat your house.
Well, the thing is you want to keep in mind is if you have a gas range like this, is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is the products of combustion, something burning in there that's putting off a gas, that displaces oxygen. So if you're using your stove as a heater, you probably shouldn't do that. Ensure that you actually have a heater. Make sure that it's plugged in properly, and that you are not using your stove like that because it is a hazard. It can, if it's not burning efficiently, it can displace the oxygen, but it's also a fire hazard and a tripping hazard too.
Okay. Well, that's it here. I think we're going to move on to the next section and learn a little bit more about fire safety this winter. While many of us may have Christmas trees in their house, but if you're like me, I have a Festivus pole, we know that Christmas trees, while they look pretty and they're nice, they come with a safety risk. Tell us a little bit about the safety risk or safety concerns that someone might have with a Christmas tree.
Well, the things that we would be looking for is a lot of Christmas trees have lights, right? So we look at the electrical outlets. We ensure that the electrical outlets aren't overloaded. We take a look at the lights and make sure that the lights aren't frayed or broken or sparking. And if you have a live tree, make sure and water your tree, and make sure that the pine needles aren't browning and falling off, because all those things can be different fire hazards.
Okay. And so you mentioned with the live trees, if you have lights on a live tree, that could be that heat, even though these are not really that hot, but that heat could build up, especially if it's dry. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So that's why you want to keep it green.
Okay.
You know, when it's greener, it takes a little bit more time for it to burn. And a lot of these lights, you know, they're designed for the Christmas trees.
Okay.
You know, and so it's something that you shouldn't worry too much about, but, you know, just be aware that when you're using lights, make sure at the end of the night that you go ahead and unplug your tree, you know, and so it doesn't have all that electricity or all that heat, you know, on your tree.
Okay. And so just if I have a Christmas tree, again, I have a Festivus pole, but if I had a Christmas tree and I chopped it up, could I just throw that Christmas tree in my fireplace?
Well, no. I would get with your local organization and see where they have an area to recycle the trees.
Okay, and just
Christmas.
why is that? Why can't I just throw my? It's a tree. It can burn. Why can't I just burn it in my fireplace?
Well, you think about that. All the pine needles, it has sap, so it could be a very large fire if you throw it in the fireplace, and so that would be, you know, a fire hazard. It could get out of control. So, you know, you just want to be wise and use the proper resources at your installation.
So you mentioned plugging it directly into the wall. So that means I can't just have like a electric cord that has like 4 different outlets on it, and I can't just plug it into there because I have my other little smaller tree. I can't plug that in like that?
If you have an outlet that's by your tree, you want to definitely use the outlet for your tree. Try not to plug it into surge protectors or into electrical cords. You know, those things build up heat over time, and so those can be different, you know, hazards.
Is there anything else that you would like to add about Christmas tree safety?
That's it. No.
All right. We'll be back. We've got one more spot that we want to take you to and talk about a little bit more stuff about holiday safety.
It's a great day at Fort Cavazos. Howdy, I'm Marie DeCindio, your Army Community Service Employment and Volunteer Services Branch Manager. Besides being a great day, it's also a special day for our Army Family Team Building Program. We are 30 years young. The program was started because we heard your voices. We understand the critical role our families and soldiers play in the daily military life. We have 3 different levels of 30 classes offered to the entire Fort Cavazos community. I can do classes at the unit, virtual, desk side, individual, small or large group. Level K is for military knowledge, learning the Army language. Spouses do not get 6 weeks of training like our soldiers. Your spouse comes home talking about their day and is using acronyms and terms. We have a class for this. We also have a class on your benefits and entitlement for your family. AFTB offers so much more, to include making a friend in class. The next level is G, personal growth and resiliency. We talk about family and their personalities. One of our successful classes is growing through change. Not going through change, but growing. Another great class is winning at time management. Some of you have been through time management classes. We all have 1,440 minutes in a day to do the things we need to do, choose to do, want to do, and then end up doing. The final level is L, examining your leadership style. You are a leader in your family, either by mentoring or coaching. You have your own leadership style, and you want to build a strong family. Come and learn how to be a great communicator and resolve challenges with your win-win goals for all of your family. On this AFTB birthday, we invite you to log into Facebook page and share your AFTB story or memory, or just say happy birthday, and tag Fort Cavazos Army Community Service Family Programs. We also want to hear from our previous instructors. Come on out, dust the books off, come on out, we'd like to hear from you.
So we're back, and we have someone else from the fire station. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, I'm Inspector Stafford. I'm with Fort Cavazos Fire Department, and today we're just going to talk about some fire safety related stuff and winter safety stuff. So some of the things that people tend to forget about being prepared, getting up early, and not being in a rush. Sometimes that puts you in dangerous situations, and it puts others in dangerous situations. Remember, at the end of the day, we want everybody safe, but we also want the fire department, emergency services people safe as well. They put themselves in danger to come out and help you as well. So leave at an early time, be prepared, and pay attention to the weather.
Okay. Speaking of weather, once it gets cold outside, some people I know, they're like to park their car in the garage, and they're like to use the automatic start and let the car run for 10, 15 minutes. Is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea?
Strongly not recommended. Obviously, I can't tell people what to do in their household, but I would not do that. I would open up your garage door, pull the vehicle out, let it run outside, and close the garage after you pull the vehicle out so it doesn't get in.
Yeah, because all that carbon monoxide is just going to go right through your house, and you're going to get woozy, and you're going to feel it once.
Yes, sir.
So, talk to me a little bit about prepping a emergency kit for the car and just about fire extinguishers and everything.
Typically, you would want a small 5-pound ABC fire extinguisher in your vehicle. Most of the time, people don't have them secured. I would have it secured in the trunk or readily available wherever it is. Don't just let it roll around the vehicle. You can't go wrong having a case of water and blanket and having cones too, just in case you get stuck on the side of the road.
So, I'll tell you a quick story. When I lived overseas, especially in the Middle East, we had to have fire extinguishers in our car. And they went so far as not just to have it in the car, but it had to be within arm's length of the driver, because an emergency can happen at any time. So just why is it important to always know where your gear is and know how to use your gear?
Well, a lot of times we get into the spot of just knowing that we're good and we don't maintain it. I would check on it, maintain it, make sure it's good and serviceable and readily available. A lot of times people forget what they have and how to use it. And everybody's guilty of that.
And that goes the same for smoke detectors or the smoke detector or carbon monoxide detectors. How often should I be checking my detectors?
Typically, you want to look on the manufacturer's list and see what it says for recommendations. But for me, a good rule of thumb is every year check your extinguishers, your smoke detectors. As far as smoke detectors, I would change your batteries out every 6 months. We all know that when you hear that chirping noise, typically your batteries are getting low. Don't wait, replace it. Lives could depend on it.
Before we get out of here, is there anything else that you want to tell us about winter safety? Or for you, what are some of the big key things that you take away when it comes to preparing your own vehicle in your own home for winter safety?
A lot of times I'll make sure like the family vehicle is prepared and ready, and sometimes I neglect my own stuff. So sometimes you got to remember it's not just your stuff. You got family members that may not have the ability to do that, or maybe older family members that can't reach the smoke detectors, stuff like that. So why not call somebody that you care about and check on them and see if they need help with any of that stuff before we get to the winter season. And another big one is a lot of times people will have fireplaces and they don't get the chimneys cleaned. I can't recommend who to call for that, but I would actually get that done before the winter season, because usually they get backed up and it's too late. But I would be prepared and have those things done.
All right. Thanks. That was just a little bit about fire safety here. Make sure if you're on the installation, you reach out to the Fort Cavazos Safety Office, or if you're off the installation, make sure that you reach out to your local law enforcement and fire departments. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Home feels safe, but arriving at your holiday destination is only half the battle. Most holiday exodus mishaps occur in the soldiers' local area, not on the trip there or back. The Army loses approximately 11 soldiers every year during the holiday season. Most of them are privates and specialists, almost all of them in vehicle crashes. Many involve alcohol. Leaders, have you gotten in front of your formation's distress safety? First line supervisors counseling soldiers saves lives. Period.
Hi, I'm Monty Campbell with the Fort Cavazos Public Affairs team, and we're back here with Eric, who just got back from the fire department, talking with the fire inspectors.
Yeah, so I went to get out there because we wanted to talk about fire safety. You know, it's the holidays, and we want to talk about winter safety because right now it's cold. Things are starting to happen. People are starting to turn off their ACs. I mean, depending upon where you are in Texas, but turn off their ACs and turn on their heaters. I know you're from up north. What were some of the things for you that you paid attention to growing up?
Well, up north, we like to have real Christmas trees. So bringing the Christmas trees in, you got to look out for the squirrels, everything like that. But
I didn't
also,
even think about that.
I mean, fire safety. You've got to be cognizant of the lights on the tree, everything like that.
Yeah, and you know, that was one of the big things that he talked about. Another big thing was daisy chaining the outlets, like plugging an outlet in and plugging 4 different things into it. I am guilty of that. I may have to go home and unplug some things. That's how guilty I am of that. But I do have extension cords, though.
Absolutely. I think my yard has them daisy chained all throughout it. But that's the yard.
But, I mean, if you set the grass on fire, it's just the grass. It's
just the grass. This is neighborhood. Neighborhood goes up in flames.
That's it. But, so, you know, we are now less than 2 weeks away from Christmas. Are you ready?
I'm ready, and I bet you the soldiers are ready. I saw them out at the Trees for Troops. That was amazing seeing them out there. Family and MWR does a wonderful job bringing them out with the Christmas trees.
Yeah, you know, I was talking to the fire inspectors, and I have a Festivus pole in my house. So that I don't have a Christmas tree this year. I have a Festivus pole. So Festivus, a festival for the rest of us, in case you didn't know. But yeah, so I have that up. But yeah, I think it was great. I love seeing the smiles on the soldiers' face when we got to go out there and just being able to talk to them and just like, oh man, this is great. One soldier had said, you know, he grew up with live Christmas trees, and it brought back home. I think he was from the Pacific Northwest. So I think seeing those type of interactions are great.
And it's not even that. Also, the kids. I mean, the kids that were out there, too. I mean, just to see the kids' faces as well. And like you said, the soldiers, there's nothing better than give soldiers something back because of everything they give us.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
So do you have any plans for this holiday season other than keeping your house winter safe?
Winter safety is paramount. However, this year, we're going to have our kids come in again all the time. Unlike back up north when we go ice skating. We can't do that here. I wish we had more rinks.
Yeah, I wish. I've lived in Chicago for a couple of months, and then I lived in Missouri, in the middle of Missouri.
ILL.
And I hated it. It was so much snow.
Why?
So I hated it because it was just like everything was just gray. It was so cold. You could put water outside and it would freeze instantly. Like, why is this a thing? The snow on the ground would stay there for weeks, if not months. I couldn't do it.
That is the one thing about home that I really am glad that I'm not there because it was gray from October until March.
Exactly. So, and then the temperature slowly goes up. Well, that's it, everyone. We'd like to thank you again for coming out and listening to us ramble and talk about the great things here at The Great Place. We look forward to seeing you here on the podcast next time. Bye.
Bye.
Before we end the show, my name is Sean Davis. I'm with the Fort Cavazos Public Affairs. I wanted to wish you guys all a happy holiday season and a New Year's. This is the last episode of the Great Big Podcast for 2024. We will be seeing you guys in 2025. Fingers are crossed for a great year. I know we've had one here in the Central Texas area at the Great Place. Also, just some news. Turns out, it's also going to be my last showing on the Great Big Podcast for the foreseeable future. I was here temporarily for a fellowship for the United States Army, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be here and learn the ropes of public affairs through the scope of the Great Big Podcast, through the Great Place, and Fort Cavazos in general. I'll be moving on to a rotation to San Antonio for U.S. Army North, and from there through the Pentagon and finishing out the program that way. It's definitely an exciting time. I know my new year is going to be very exciting, a very big change for me, and I can only wish the same for all of you. So thank you again for watching this episode of the Great Big Podcast and tuning in. We hope to see you happy and well next year.